this thing happened that you might have heard about where the dude who you might Graham Platner, who is running for he's running for the Democratic nomination for Senate in Maine to ideally unseat Susan Collins. He who has had some controversy. Now he's this like his whole thing is he's an oyster farmer and he friggin' why can't I not speak anymore? Oops, sorry. I clicked the wrong thing. But he's like an oyster farmer. He was in the military. He worked for like BlackRock, which feels bad. And I feel like not enough people talk about that. That feels kind of bad and isn't cool. Um, and two things came out recently about him that got people upset. One is that he had said some stuff on Reddit that sounds like things that an angry 30-year-old man would say on Reddit. Cause I think he was like 30 when he said those things. Some of them were about, they just expressed like political anger and talked about being communist. And when I look at that, I'm like, that seems totally normal to me. He did one thing, which I thought was like dumb, but not disqualifying, where I guess he asked in a very like earnest tone why black people don't tip. It's a little weird. And I guess like in an interview, which we're gonna watch some of, he was like, I grew up in a place where I didn't everyone was white and I was barred to a different city and I was just kind of curious why that was the case or something like that. So I had heard some of that stuff and it's not like the best, but not crazy. And then the news broke that he had a tattoo, which is French for tattoo, that was Nazi adjacent. He had a Nazi adjacent tattoo. And this news broke yesterday. There was a lot of reaction on the old internet. Ever heard of it? And initially, I'm going to be 100% honest here. Initially, with some of the early stuff that I saw, my reaction was if it's really the case that this guy was a young dumbass Marine who got blitzed overseas and got a stupid tattoo with his Marine bros, that isn't shocking to me. I know non-Marine bros who have gotten drunk and got really stupid tattoos. There's some guys I knew when I was in high school who, when they turned 18, they all got Looney Tunes tattoos on their asses. Like, I get it. People do weird stuff. But I think that it's maybe not that great. So I think there's some reasons to think that it's not that great. So let me pull up a clip here. Now, this is he did an interview with our friends over at Crooked Media. And the boys over at Crooked Media kind of dropped the Nazi tattoo thing because they were talking about his Reddit stuff. And I will say this, up until this point, I watched most of this interview. Up until this point, I was kind of like rocking with our guy Graham. And by that, I just mean it like made sense. He was saying stuff that made sense. And he was, justifying a lot of what he had said in the context of, I was a depressed, alienated 30-year-old who was drinking a lot and going on Reddit to try to find a sense of community. And like, who among us? Like, who among us has not gone online to try to find community and sometimes maybe got caught up in some weird vibes in our attempts to do so? So I'm not going to like judge that part, but a thing emerged. We'll talk about it. Let's watch this section of the interview.
Is like doubly infuriating.
Yeah.
It's like you made me go, like I volunteered to go do this stuff. You sent us off.
Oops, I went to the wrong part. His voice is so masculine. I found out we're almost the same age, and I feel like he could be my dad. Like, I'm talking like this. If I had this sort of voice, you guys would take everything I said much more seriously.
Speaking of which, in kind of a non-traditional campaign move, your team actually shared some opposition research on you with me. It's a video from, I believe, a decade ago.
Own goal right here.
Let's just watch an excerpt, and then we should talk about it.
Here's my initial thought. If your whole bit is that you're going to do the funny dance thing at a wedding, this is now tying into wedding advice, in case you missed that section of the show earlier. I think you need to commit more. I think you need to sing. And if you're not going to sing, if you're just going to lip sync, I think you need to have like a microphone or some sort of thing. Because I will say that it pretty quickly wears on me, the bit that he's doing, because I feel a lack of commitment. So I would also say, if any of you are ever going to do a bit at any sort of formal event, you really have to commit all the way, because people already don't like bits, and they really don't like bits that you half-ass. But let's watch the rest of his bit. And you might note that in the corner of his chest, he has a tattoo. This is the one that has Inglorious Bastards vibes.
First of all, what we're watching there was Graham wearing just his boxer briefs.
Silkies. Those are Marine Corps running shorts.
Pardon me. Silkies.
Those are Marine Corps running shorts.
First of all, great song choice. Tell us what's happening there, where you are. There's probably some listeners who are very confused. And the reason we are showing this video is because at the very end, you can see a tattoo on your chest. And I've been told that some of your political opponents are telling reporters that that tattoo has a Nazi affiliation. And I would like to know, is that accurate? Are you a secret Nazi?
Okay, so we're going to dig into this. We're gonna watch a little bit more of this. And I'm only saying that because I'm worried that if we just watch this, some of you are going to be like, wait, but you're not going to talk about how this is actually bad. Spoiler alert. The more I've thought about this and consulted with people who are smart, I think it's not good. I don't think any of this is good. I will say that I don't feel like his explanation is a lie necessarily. I don't think there's a lot of evidence to convince oneself that this guy is a Nazi. I think, but the tattoo is bad, and then we're going to talk about it. But I just wanted to preface that. So let's watch a little bit of him talking again at this Ramada Suites room, wherever he is.
I am not a secret Nazi. Actually, if you read through my Reddit comments, I think you can.
Also, I think if I was going to say I wasn't a secret Nazi, I would just say I wasn't a Nazi, because in saying you're not a secret Nazi, you're not saying you're not a Nazi. You're just saying you're not a secret Nazi. Not to be the language police here, not to be the Gestapo of formal clauses.
Pretty much figure out where I stand on Nazism,
right,
and anti-Semitism and racism in general. I would say a lifelong opponent. The video is from my brother's marriage to his wife, to my sister-in-law, who I was serenading. I told them that
this is where I call bullshit. You were not serenading. You were doing a half-ass lip sync. You could have actually sang the song. You could have Googled Miley Cyrus Wrecking Ball plus karaoke track. You could have played it in the car to memorize the lyrics to yourself. If you wanted to go really hardcore, I guarantee you could have found a cheap karaoke machine, or even gone harder than that and got a Bluetooth microphone that was hooked up to a speaker at the venue. The venue that you were at may have had that, because a lot of venues that host weddings and rehearsal dinners have microphones for people to give speeches and stuff like that. And you could have put the karaoke track on and you could have sang it to her. You could have only just done the first verse or the first chorus to not make it too bad. So, like, again, this is where he loses credibility in my eyes.
Wedding gift to them would be my embarrassment. And so I performed a lip sync version of Miley Cyrus's Wrecking Ball to my sister-in-law on the day of her wedding to my brother. And now, of course, that embarrassment, which was mostly just held internally in the family, as we always watched that video at family events and laughed, is now shared with the world. So I feel like I'm just going to give them a wedding gift for the rest of my life. Which is great. I love them. The reason, by the way, the reason of this video, Saturday was their 10th wedding anniversary.
Oh, congrats.
And
so the gist here is that this guy was already getting in a wee bit of trouble. And this video emerged via Oppo research. What a world. Have any of you ever worked in Oppo research? If so, let us know. That'd be fun to talk about. But they got the thing. They got the Oppo research thing. In the video, you clearly see that he has a tattoo that's kind of Nazi-ish. We'll let him share his side of the story, and then we're going to look at some follow-ups to this.
My sister-in-law was showing everybody the video.
Nice.
And I was like, oh yeah, there it is. There's me being embarrassed. But what we also, yes, so in 2007, I was a machine gun section leader with Kilo Company, 3rd Battalion, 8th Marines.
Oh, yeah. You know that one. I mean, I'm a little, never mind.
We were on the 2-2 Mu, and it was
If that means, I feel like there's some people in this community that have some military experience. Whenever he talks like this, I'm like, yeah,
My
this dude's
third
from you.
deployment.
Yeah, definitely.
My previous two had been to Fallujah and then Ramadi,
Oh yeah.
2006. And we went ashore in Split, Croatia, myself and a few of the other machine gun squad leaders.
A bunch of machine gun bros getting tattoos in Split, Croatia. How could this go wrong?
And we got very inebriated, and we did what Marines on liberty do, and we decided to go get a tattoo. And we went to a tattoo parlor in Split, Croatia, and we chose a terrifying looking skull and crossbones off the wall because we were Marines, and skulls and crossbones are a pretty standard military thing. And we got those tattoos, and then we all moved on with our lives.
I will say that I buy this. Like, again, it doesn't sound unbelievable to me that a bunch of 18, 19-year-olds who hang out with their bros on boats and on ships and shoot guns at kids or whatever, go then and get wasted and do that. Like, there was a dude I went to high school with. Should I say this? Yeah, he's never gonna watch this. A guy I went to high school with was like I thought he was like a nice guy in high school. He joined a military service. I won't say which one. And I was kind of surprised because he didn't seem like the military type. And then years later, I saw him at a Buffalo Wild Wings when I was home from college or grad school or something. And he was talking about, being in the military, and he had gotten married and started to have kids. But he talked about he was in the military once. They were in like Thailand or something like that. And like, this is gonna be extreme. I'm about to say something a little bit extreme. So if you do not want to hear something a little bit extreme, headphones off or mute for like 30 seconds. This will be quick. Ready? The extreme thing's coming. Okay. Military guy I went to high school with said they went to some place where like they got like hand jobs from teenagers or something. And he just talked about it in a really normal way, as if military guys on leave go to like places in other countries and get jerked off by teenagers. Now, and I mean, it was the first time I realized, like, oh yeah, that has to be a weird culture, a different experience, a not good thing. So, all that to say is it doesn't shock me to hear that military fellers overseas would go do something like that.
And I actually joined the Army after that, where I got, I had to go to MEPS. I got screened later on.
This is kind of funny that one of his things is like, I didn't think it was bad because the Army checked me and told me it was good. When I think of like organizations in America that want nothing to do with anything like that, it's the Army.
I got a security clearance and a full screen when I went to work for the State Department.
Oh, when I worked for BlackRock and private security institutions, they didn't care.
As a contractor doing security for the ambassador to Afghanistan in 2018. And I've also just lived my entire life like a regular person with the skull and crossbones on their chest, which by that I mean taking my shirt off, performing Miley Cyrus songs in front of my extended family, and to my sister-in-law, and just taking my shirt off at the beach.
Right, presumably going to the beach, yeah.
I mean, I went to college. I went to the gym. I did
Mr. College.
all the things, and at no point in this entire experience of my life did anybody ever once say, "Hey, you're a Nazi." It never came up.
Has anyone ever said that to you? Shout it out in the chat. So here's where we're at with Mr. Platner, right? He gets the tattoo when he's with the military friends. They put the machine guns down. They're MEP 549, Agent 32, Commander Squadron 5. They're squad leader, commanders. They're you know what I mean. We're all ex-military here. But he got it, and then he says he had it his whole life. He's from Maine. I don't want to be weird here. Correct me if I'm wrong. I imagine the demographics of the state of Maine are muy blanco, which is English for very white. I imagine you don't take your shirt off a ton in a place like that. It's kind of cold. So this comes out, and there was this is going to be shocking, of course, a flurry of reactions, a flurry of reactions, some of which seemed like they were in good faith, and some of them seemed like they were in bad faith. Now, according to, and I'm looking at, I'll put it on screen, but you could also just trust me. I wish you guys could just trust that I'm not going to lie to you. Like if I'm looking at something, just trust that I'm not lying to you. Where was the article I was just looking at? Oh my God. I ruined it. I ruined it again. I thought I was going to do a good job of the show today. I thought it was going to be worthy of you all. And then I fucking biffed it. Oh, here it is. Nope. There it isn't. Is this it? I have too many articles up today. Okay. And I'll just say this now. Henry, if you're editing this into a clip later, you can cut out all this of me just talking. You can just cut that out. So this is from an article in the Associated Press. I'm going to move the thing so we see it a little more clearly. But it says that the initial image resembled a specific symbol of Hitler's paramilitary Schutzstaffel, or SS, which was responsible for the systemic murders of millions of Jews and others in Europe during World War II. Platner didn't offer details about the new tattoo, but he offered to send the AP a photo. We'll look at this later. He did cover it up, as this article gets into, with a new tattoo. Said that he got it a new tattoo on it rather than getting it removed because there was no place to get it removed near where he lived. We just saw this in the video. He said he had never been questioned about this before. And let's see. So he's apologized for all the comments that he made. He's resisted calls to drop out of the race. He still has the support of Bernie Sanders. He says that he's not ashamed to confront his past. He says he doesn't look at it as a liability, and he's doing a town hall at Ogunquit, Maine later today. I don't know if there's a stream of that one. Now, there's another piece that I've seen on this that gets into details a little bit more. We'll see if I can make this move pretty seamlessly. This is over on Slate. And the article, just to give the full context, it is by Luke Winkie. It's kind of explaining the situation. That's the thing he got tattooed, by the way. I mean, that doesn't look great. I have a lot of stuff with skulls on it because I like the Grateful Dead, and there's a lot of Grateful Dead iconography, skulls, skeletons, things of that nature. I could see myself getting a tattoo with something like that. But when I look at that, it doesn't look piratey to me. Pirate shit's cool. That doesn't look piratey at all. Grateful Dead shit's cool. It doesn't look like Grateful Dead stuff at all. I mean, it looks, if not Nazi-ish, it just doesn't look great. It has a bad vibe. But again, do I expect the aesthetic sensibility of a bunch of 19-year-olds, private sergeant 945s in Croatia, drunk off whatever, to do that? I don't know. And in case, and they've gotten into this in this article as well. Worth noting, if you've never heard of this guy before, which is fine, especially fine if you're not from the States. In general, his vibe has been like Bernie Sanders-esque in terms of political policy and stuff that he's advocated for. There's some whiffs of Fettermanish here. Now, before we get into the Reddit and other stuff, it is worth noting that in 2018, he signed up with Constellus, the former Blackwater, as in the comically evil private military contractor. That raised some eyebrows. But honestly, we didn't really know that much about Platner other than what was orbiting out of his campaign that might have been strategic on his part. So we did the Reddit post. We already talked about that. I do find that kind of less significant because as a guy who's about his age, again, I get it. I get being drunk and lonely and going on the internet and saying crazy stuff. Like when dudes are lonely on the internet, let me know if there's a thing I'm missing here. If like when dudes are lonely on the internet, you're going to do one of three things. You're going to go on Pornhub. You're going to go on Facebook and type in the names of someone you were like in love with in high school and see what they're up to now. Or you're going to go on Reddit and get angry about something in a very specific niche that you're interested in. I like Reddit a lot. And the amount of joy and enthusiasm in Reddit is great. It's a great place for people with ADHD who are obsessed with different hobbies. But there's people that get so mad and so worked up about the dumbest stuff on there as well. Let me know if there's another thing I'm missing that dudes do when they're sad and lonely. Okay, so it is the skull and crossbones worn by the SS. Pod Save America did the thing. And it says, let's see. It says, okay, Platner's story is that he found himself in Croatia during one of his many combat tours. He wandered into the parlor, yada, yada, yada. But earlier today, Jewish Insider published a story featuring a former acquaintance of Platner's who recalled the candidate referring to the blotchy skull on his chest as a Totenkopf, using the precise terminology for, once again, one of the most recognizable insignias of Nazi terror. That's not great. That's not great. Now it feels very like he said, she said, whatever in that regard. Like a guy, an acquaintance said a thing. Okay. Like that's probably, I don't know. Matthew, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to attack you. So yes, I'm not peddling the plausible deniability thing. I'm just kind of like, I'm considering how people could look at it. My vibe, I'm trying to just have a chill vibe, but obviously don't worry. I think I'm going to land some place that, you might agree with. This allegedly happened all the way back in 2012, which is true. Would mean that for a very long time, he was aware that he had a Nazi tattoo. And again, the thing that I find, and again, we're all just throwing shit at the wall here. I mean, we're all throwing shit at, I can't, my throat would hurt if I talked like him. He is someone who served in the military, in different branches of the military, talks about military history, seems like he's kind of about that life. It's hard to imagine. I mean, I guess it would be like this. This is going to be a horrible analogy I'm about to make, but you expect nothing else from me. I think I have an above average interest and understanding in like 19th and 20th century Irish political history. It's a thing I'm interested in. Because of that, I've seen a lot of the iconography and signage and slogans around, the early IRA, around the Protestant brigades and the black and tans and all sorts of stuff, such that if I probably wouldn't accidentally get like some Ulster Protestant Unionist insignia on my body, because I would be like, oh, I think I know what that is. I don't think that's what I'm about. And I think if my ancestors saw that on me, it would beat me to death and leave me rotting in a bog. So, it's hard to, and it says the man who now faces maybe the most damaging and invincible political question of all time, which is, why did you not get the giant SS symbol on your chest covered up with literally anything else? This is the thing too. He knew he was going to run for office at some point. He knew at some point that when he was running, he was going to take his shirt off, because you always do. Potato Boy. Oh my God, that's a great username for this. Maybe this year for St. Patty's Day, around then or something, we'll do Irish History Day on the street. But and note that what I'm saying now is not a moral critique; it's just a practical thing. The moment you might run for office on the national scale, get it covered up, and then do your whole like, oh, I didn't know thing. It's a lot more believable if you're like, I was dumb gunman. I was a drunk gunman and I got a tattoo, and then someone was like, tattoo bad, and me say, that's a bad tattoo, and they say yes, and I say, oh, me cover up. Like you have time. And this in this article says the whole situation seems unbelievably careless. Like, how did he not think this was going to work out for him? He's trying to be a senator, for God's sake. Even the most charitable reading of the sequence of events, an idiot accidentally signs up for a Nazi tattoo and celebrates its edginess for years before having a change of heart, is tough to swallow. And yeah. Let's see. Today, yeah. On Wednesday, he covered up the tattoo with a new piece, this one without any Nazi iconography. He was also saying he has no plans to drop out. I can't tell if it's the end of him. Let's see what the new tattoo is. I think, does this one show the new one? Why have an article if you're not going to show us the new tattoo? Like, what is even the point of doing that to us? Why treat us like that? So, that's kind of where we're at with this guy. And there's, a few ways to look at this. I want to look at some of the reactions to this as well, because I think, I think it brings up some interesting questions. Like, I want to consider a few of these questions. But let's look really quickly at a piece in Semaphore that gets into some of the reactions to this. If anyone's ever gotten a tattoo that you've gotten covered up or been embarrassed about, let us know though. That's fun stuff to talk about. And I'm not here to hate. You know what I mean? We all do things. We all make mistakes. This is over on Semaphore, published yesterday. Now it gives a lot of like the stuff that we already know about. Let's see. How do you expect to win young people? Platner asked Semaphore on Tuesday. For those who don't know, that's the one that comes between Monday and Wednesday. How do you expect to win back men when you go back through somebody's Reddit history and just pull it out and say, oh my God, this person has no right to ever be in politics. Good luck with that. Good luck winning over those demographics. Here's the thing. He's not wrong there, in my humble opinion. He's not wrong to say that like we need to have a better cultural apparatus and sense of accountability than to say that anyone who tries to do anything that's good needs to get wrecked when you find old stuff they said that is bad. I mean, this has been happening this week with Tyler, the Creator. And while I don't want to go too deep into that world, it feels weird to me that people are trying to go incredibly recklessly hard at Tyler for stuff he said 10 to 12 years ago, much of which is horrible. It's not good. It's not good. But I also understand that it has to be really weird to get really famous when you're 17 or 18 years old. And the thing that makes you famous and makes you money is that you're like edgy. So you say edgy stuff and then you grow up and you move on and you get out of it. For most of us, that wasn't a publicly documented thing. But again, we're not talking about Tyler, the Creator here, because we're not. Let's see. But so I think if it was just this, right? If the only issue was this guy said some weird stuff when he was drunk on Reddit, then I would truly say, who among us? Like he, without Reddit sin, cast the first stone. I think there is a marked difference between saying dumb shit online when you're sad and drunk, which is real. And I do think we need to make room for the fact that people who are alienated and sad and drunk get sucked into weird online communities and say dumb shit. And if you're watching this, you exist on the internet enough to know that some of the shit he said isn't that crazy relative to the things we have to see in this hell world every day. Big leap, personally, big leap between that and the Nazi tattoo. His highest profile supporter, Bernie Sanders, is sticking with him. His campaign told Semaphore that it had $400,000 in monthly recurring donations. Damn. Our political system's so dumb, man. You know, we should be getting those sort of donations, YouTubers and streamers. Senator Martin Heinrich told Semaphore he still supports Platner, though he warned potential future candidates to not spend a lot of time on Reddit. Do I like any of it? Of course not. Do I like what he's campaigning on, the way he's connecting to working class voters? That's the piece that's been missing from our party. I mean, it sucks, right? Because it is true that the Democrats have been aggressively struggling to find younger candidates with progressive ideals that connect with voters. The Democrats have especially had a hard time doing this in finding candidates that connect with young male men's voters, you know? So that's like a real thing. And I understand, this person goes on to say, the Democratic Party needs to be big enough to accept people who have hard lives. True. Who have made mistakes and have actually owned up to those mistakes. That's also true. Let me know if you disagree with that, because I don't disagree with any of this. This is where I'm a little bit, and that's what he's done, said Heinrich, who directed money from his leadership PAC to Plantner. On Monday, he began sharing old Reddit posts that he stood by, attempting to draw a more nuanced picture of a retired shit poster. Okay, if we want to put internet comments in the middle of the conversation, I think it's only fair that we point out the good ones too. Again, they're getting into the tattoo right here. His former political director saw it differently. And this is bad. Like someone who worked with him, you know, it'd be like if I said something a little bit weird and then, you know, producer Henry was like, nah, Burns was bad the whole time. Said Graham has an anti-Semitic tattoo on his chest. He's not an idiot. He's a military history buff. Maybe he didn't know when he got it, but he got it years ago. And he should have covered it up because he knows damn well what it means. You know what, though? Maybe he just has ADHD. Okay? Maybe he just has ADHD and his executive functioning disorder helped him from that. At least that's my excuse because I keep forgetting to call in this jury duty thing I'm supposed to do. It's not that I don't want to participate in democracy, but I just like genuinely forget. And then the last time I did it like every ebb and I forgot one day. So now I'm in trouble. And I want to be like, I'm neurodiverse, but I don't want to be that guy. Semaphore then interviewed 10 Democratic senators about the Maine primary. Most of them didn't talk about his past. Yeah, it seems like everyone's going to rally around the other person. And again, big difference between saying dumb shit on Reddit and having a Nazi tattoo. I think those are very different things.